Hey guys, today I'm working on the brakes on the Subaru. For the last week or so I've had this low pitched kind of growling noise as I'm driving down the highway at like 65 miles an hour. It's kind of a humming, growling, not real loud. I could tell it's coming from the back. So I pulled the wheels off today. Took a look, checked the wheel bearings for play. Everything was tight on both sides. Then I took a look at the brakes, and this particular side, the passenger side, I've got a brake pad that's totally worn out. This one here, the outside pad is totally gone. Inside pad, quite a bit of meat left on that one. So whenever you see that, you know you got a problem with the caliper. So it could be these slide pins in the caliper bracket are stuck, and then it'll put a little drag on the brakes as you're driving. But in my case, the slide pins are in good shape. They're not seized up or anything. So the next thing I would think it would be is the caliper. So I bought a new caliper. What happens is you get a little moisture in your brake fluid, and this caliper piston right here, as it comes out, it might develop a little rust inside the caliper, and then the piston kind of gets stuck, and even when you release the brakes you have a little drag on your brakes, and you end up with a pad like that, all worn down. One of the pads really worn. So that's what I'm doing today. Today I've got bought some new brake pads, got new rotors. I got the Napa Adaptive 1 ceramic pads. It's a hybrid ceramic pad that has two different formulations for the inside and outside. I'm not exactly sure. I think the outside pad just gives you less dusting, and they say the inside pad is more like a metallic pad. You get more friction on that one. There's the back of the package. You can take a read if you feel like it. So they're saying low noise, no noise, cleaner wheels, more consistent pedal feel, longer life. Those are the advantages. The Adaptive 1 pads. And unique ceramic formula design, radio tuned slot design, mechanical friction attachment system, reduces vibration and noise, premium shim materials deliver outstanding noise reduction. And they have a little diagram on the bottom here. I put these on the front of my car last year, and they work really good. They're excellent pads. They cost a little more. For the back of my car, these were like $60 for the pads. And I also bought a new caliper, new rotors. So that's my project for today. So I'll let you know if you have a problem with your pads wearing uneven like that, you're going to need a new rotor, or a new caliper, or your slide pins. And while you have this apart, you should get some of this disc brake caliper grease. Pull these apart. You can pull that out, and that seal will pop out with it, and grease up the pins while you get them apart. And also, what I like to do is get some anti-seize, and I anti-seize all the bolts, because these caliper bracket bolts were kind of rusty and I had a hard time getting them out. So what you need to get the caliper and the bracket off is a 14mm socket, and that's on the back. And to get the bracket off of the hub assembly, or the spindle here where it attaches on the back, these two bolts come out. So this is what holds the caliper bracket onto the hub assembly. And then you have your two, these also have 14mm heads. They screw into here, and that attaches your caliper to the bracket on these slides. So that's about all you really need is a 14mm to do the rear brakes. Before you install your new rotor, you're going to want to take some brake parts cleaner and just spray the surface of it. Wipe off that oil. They pack these in oil. Don't rust in the packaging. And you can also take your brake cleaner and clean things up a bit. Get rid of some of the old brake dust. Slide your caliper bracket onto your rotor. Give you an idea where those bolts go in. In the back here you can see, I'll zoom in a little bit, like one of the bolts is right there. The other bolt is up right there. Okay, when you get your bracket all installed, you're going to want to lube these slides. So you can do is gently pull out your slide, and you're going to want to wipe all that old grease off. Get that nice and clean, and get yourself some new grease. I got the Ultra caliper lube. Just lube up that slide pin a little bit. I like to put a little bit on the CO2. Another thing I like to do when I'm putting brakes together to hold the rotor on nice and tight, I'll just take a lug nut. You can use more than one if you want, and tighten it down. Doesn't have to be super tight, just as long as it holds the rotor up tight. And then I'll take a C-clamp and I'll seat these brake pads nice and tight. They're in the slots nice and evenly, nice and straight. So now you got your pads installed, your caliper bracket installed. You're going to notice that the piston is sticking out on your caliper a lot farther than you need it. So you got to press that in to make up for the thickness of your new pads. Okay, before you start pushing that piston in on the brake caliper, you're going to want to find your master cylinder. That's usually on the driver's side. It's going to be up against the firewall. And you're going to want to take the cap off your master cylinder reservoir. Just check the fluid level. If it's really full, you may want to take like a turkey baster or something and siphon some of that out of there. Because when you push in the piston, all that fluid's going to come up in here and it might flood over on you. And then when you're all done, you can top up your master cylinder reservoir, some brake fluid, and be good to go. So what you want to do is get a tool like this. You can also use a C-clamp. This is a 5-inch, and it'll work with some calipers. You can just set it up on there like that and push it in. You want to get it as straight as possible. In this case, because this caliper is kind of small, it's better to use the proper tool. That just sits in there like so, and you just turn the handle, and that's going to push that piston all the way back in. Okay, last thing you got to do is install your caliper bolts to your bracket. And I like to put a little anti-seize on the threads. So if you're not replacing the caliper, you'd be done right now. But with me, this caliper's bad. It's dragging a little bit. And I got a new caliper I'm installed. This one has the bracket and everything. It's a loaded caliper, semi-loaded. Has the slide pins, the bracket and everything on it already. So that's my next job. I'm going to unbolt the brake line right here with a 12mm socket and install that new caliper.